filled.
Earlier this year when the Grand National stock cars were here, their complaint, we have a car smoking going through turn number 3. Now the smoke lets off. It looked like Scott Brayton, a little bit of smoke coming from this youngster's car, a guy who was qualified in 12th position, one of his finest efforts of the year, commenting about the Grand National stock cars earlier. Their problem was one of the track being a little slippery because of the sealer on the racetrack. For the Indy cars, it's a little rough. The drivers say they've softened up the suspension. They're ready to go.
Bobby Rahal, the pole sitter, pulls well ahead of the pack now, and because he really jumped out to too much of a lead, they're not going to display the green flag this time. The driver's holding up their hands, signaling that we'll go one more time before we get the green. Looks like Bobby was out there quite a bit before they approached the place where the green flag normally drops.
Gordy, in a situation like that, you're actually looking at the pole setter who has normally the responsibility to determine the speed of the start. The outside guy, the guy bringing on the outside row, sort of his job to keep up. What happened in that instance as you saw it?
Well, it looked like Rahal just got a jump all of a sudden on him, and I was glad to see him not drop the flag because he was really too far out in front. The rest of them were pretty well lined up, but Rahal was pretty well out in front. So I was glad to see him not drop the green flag.
Now, this is an interesting front row. Bobby Rahal, a newcomer to this type of racing a year ago, and Johnny Rutherford, who has been in and out of the division because he's had a couple of crashes that have injured him. And, you know, a year or two ago, you would not have been surprised to see Johnny Rutherford on the front row, but here in the latter stages of the 1983 season, a front row that 2 years ago you wouldn't even dreamed of.
Well, yes, you know, he's with the Patrick Racing team, the same as I am, and we've had a rough time of it this year. There's no question about that. We've had a lot of crashes and a lot of misfortunes, but I think they're getting things together now. The last race, Danny and Gaius finished 5th, so I think they're getting things together again.
All right, the field moves out of turn number 4 once again, and hoping for a green flag this time. They come down in much better order this time, and Nick Finoro, the official starter for Championship Auto Racing Teams, displays the green flag, and the Detroit News Grand Prix is underway. 25 cars. Nick Simon did get out on the racetrack before the green flag dropped, so a full field of 25 Indy cars heading for turn number 2, being led down the backstretch by Bobby Rahal. Here is our shot as the cars come off of the 18-degree banking onto the relatively flat backstretch, where speeds can exceed 210 miles an hour. Now Bobby Rahal sets that car in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Speeds here somewhere around 206 or 207 miles an hour, and off the 4th turn they go.
Speeds at Michigan International Speedway. If you've been listening to what happens at Indianapolis, of course, you might say 200 miles per hour, ho-hum. But at Michigan International Speedway, you're absolutely right on the ragged edge all the way around. You're in a corner a lot of the time here at Michigan. It's not exactly an oval. It is a tri-oval, similar to Daytona and Talladega. There are 4 corners, but there's also a 5th turn, a kink right in the middle of the front straightaway. And Gordy, I'll tell you, the G-forces really do tug on you, don't they?
Well, yes, they do, especially in a long race like the 500 miles. And it'll be tough here, too, because the guys are running only 200 miles and are running flat out. You can tell the way the front runners are running right now that, you know, they're going for the whole thing. They're not backing off or waiting for the end of like a 500-mile race. They've got to go out there and go for it.
Al Unser Jr. started this race in 23rd position, and it was our interest, of course, to see how well he performed at the drop of the green flag. And our spotters tell us that Al Unser Jr. passed 9 cars in lap number 1 and is making his way toward the front of this field. They combine to complete lap number 3. Still, Bobby Rahal showing the way. Johnny Rutherford running in 2nd position. Good battle for 3rd between Tom Sneva and Mario Andretti. Al Unser Jr., the driver of car number 17. That, of course, is the Coors Light Silver Bullet. And Eagle Cosworth moving up fast in the field.
Those 2 white cars you see on your screen, I believe it's Kevin Cogan. And Kevin was racing with Teo Fabi. No, it's not Kevin. It is Tom Sneva moving to the inside of Johnny Rutherford, followed by Mario Andretti. Cogan and Teo Fabi were side by side a little earlier. You caught that on our shot coming out of turn number 4. Again, that is Sneva, followed closely by Mario Andretti. And you can see when you get out of the throttle, even though you had momentum going in, as Steve tried to get to the inside of Rutherford, once you just got out of that throttle, even the slightest little bit, you lose a lot of ground on this racetrack because you're going so fast all the way around at every point on the Speedway.
Yes, that's very much true, Larry. You got a heck of a race going on here for second spot between Rutherford, Sneva, and Andretti. Andretti's really moved up fast here. He was right up there side of him. Sneva's moving up side of Rutherford right now, going into number 1.
Into turn number 1, and Tom Sneva gets his nose in front of Johnny Rutherford and makes the pass going into turn number 1. So Tom Sneva now moves into second place. Mario Andretti also goes to the low side of Johnny Rutherford and takes over third. So in just the quick flash of an eye, Johnny Rutherford drops from second to fourth.
Yes, Johnny got a little bit high there between 1 and 2, and it allowed Mario to slip right under him at the same time that Tom did.
There again is second, third, and fourth. And Bob, here's a replay of the start of the race. Watch Al Unser Jr., the red nose in that white car. Look at the jump he gets coming through the trial. He goes to the high side of Roger Mears, threads the needle, goes right between a couple of other competitors. Looks like Chris Neifel slowing a little bit in the middle of the corner, but look at the jump that Al Unser Jr. gets. He's passed 3 cars in 1 corner, make it 5 cars in 2 corners, setting up going down the backstretch, and he made up a lot of ground very early on.
So obviously Al Unser Jr. has the engine problems that he suffered yesterday in practice ironed out, and he is moving up quickly. There you can see him going around Howdy Holmes in turn number 3 on lap number 1 and continuing to thread his way through the traffic and up toward the front of the pack. Al Unser Jr. back live now to the activity on the racetrack. Tom Sneva has moved into second position. Running third is Mario Andretti, and back to fourth is Johnny Rutherford. This is only Johnny Rutherford's third race of the year. He competed in the very first race at Atlanta, then was injured, of course, at Indianapolis. He competed in Pocono, where he had another misfortune, and a tire came off. The car crashed. He is in his third race of the year, qualified well in second position. Johnny Rutherford looking for somewhat of a comeback here this weekend. Chris Neifel, car number 72, the CFI Primus, brings his car into the pit area, as obviously something has gone wrong. We only anticipate 2 normal pit stops during this 100-lap, 200-mile race. Our coverage will resume in just a moment with Bobby Rahal leading.
The car owner of Al Unser Jr.'s Eagle. You got off to a great start, but now I see he's falling back a couple of spots.
Yeah, the car's pushing a little bit. We need our next pit stop. We're going to try to come in and adjust the front wing because it's pushing a little bit. But he got off to a good start. We got the car sorted out last night, so hopefully, we can get things worked out.
And this being a real sprint car race, you're really trying to play the yellow lights for that first pit stop.
I didn't hear you.
You're going to try to play the yellow for that first pit stop.
Oh yeah, everybody will do that. So it's just see what happens.
So as always, the cockpit is where the strategy is coming from.
That's right. He's the one doing the job.
Thank you, Rick.
Tough luck for Johnny Rutherford, who started second, fell back to fourth, and he had a problem last lap as the car was in turn number 1. We'll take a look at what happened while we were away for commercial. Johnny Rutherford, a big puff of smoke from that engine going into turn 1.
Well, remember that Johnny had just been passed by Tom Sneva and Mario Andretti. Don't know if that was one of the things that contributed to his being passed by those two, but you see Johnny looking to get down out of the racing groove and out of the way. He ducked down to the low side of the racetrack going down the backstretch. And Gordon, when he came around, it appeared as though he was coming in under power. He did not look like he was coasting at all.
Yes, he definitely looked like he was under power, but you could see the puff of smoke was pretty bad when he went into the number 1 corner, and evidently it's something he knew because he did slow down and get out of the groove. So it's just not just an ordinary oil leak.
Good race for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th position involved in that. Teo Fabi, also in there is Al Unser Sr. and Mike Mosley. They go down the backstretch, and Teo Fabi has managed to get around both of those cars and move into 4th place.
Well, Teo got a nice draft of wind coming down through the trioval, went to the inside of both, and look at the distance he has opened up. I was about to comment, Bob, that this is the first time this year that I could remember seeing Teo actually back up a little bit. In the early stages of the race, he had started in 3rd position and had dropped back to about 6th or so. But boy, he's really picked up the steam in the last couple of laps here. Look at the tight grouping of cars going through the trial, but going into the number 1 corner.
That's the race for 5th position. Involved Rick Mears, Al Unser Sr., also Kevin Cogan, and Mike Mosley. They begin to go around some of the slower cars as they go down the backstretch. Once again, we remind you that time permitting, we will have live coverage of the Super B race from here at Michigan, which immediately follows this race. We mentioned to you earlier that we had some rain here earlier this morning in Michigan, and there is still a haze hanging over this 2-mile racetrack, and visibility is not all that great at this point.
That was Roger Mears, the white car that you see on the tail of that tandem. Kevin Cogan there moving to the inside of Mike Mosley as this battle royale continues. That was not one of those front runners, the cream-colored car that was drifting out of your picture. Again, Roger Mears, who has already been into the pits once. Incidentally, Chris Neifel also pitted early, and that car is being pushed behind the pit wall. So those are two of the early dropouts here in the race today.
We understand that Chris Neifel has dropped out of the race due to electrical problems, and the black flag is being displayed to car number 11, driven by Bill Alsop, because of a broken nose cone. So Bill will have to come in for consultation. Johnny Rutherford, meanwhile, has pulled back out onto the racetrack as we continue to watch this battle for 5th position.
But he's still smoking, Bob. You can see him on the apron down there, and he was still smoking. I don't know if it's oil that was left on the car from before or what, but he's surely not going very fast going through 1 and 2 on the apron. So it looks like he's definitely still got a problem.
Kevin Cogan trying to set up the points leader. Al Unser Sr. down the backstretch, pulls out of the draft, ducks down low, going into the 18-degree, banking into turn number 3, and Cogan picks up a position, but it might be temporary. You never know how things go on a big high-bank super speedway. Sometimes you get that pass or you get the lead, but it only lasts for a half a lap or maybe one more lap. If you can stay in the draft, you can always catch him.
And that is Mike Mosley also doing battle there with Al Unser Sr. as Teo Fabi and Rick Mears, who were running in this group, have now pulled on ahead, and it's basically a 3-car battle here. There is Johnny Rutherford still running very slowly on the racetrack over in turn number 4, and it looks like that he may come back into the pit area once again. Let's go to Gary Lee in the pit area.
Jim McGee, the team manager in the Johnny Rutherford stable. You got off to a good start. What's the problem now?
Well, it looks like we've developed some kind of a water leak, a radiator or something. Maybe got a rock through the radiator, but it's pouring water out the left side of the car, so we're going to have to bring it in, and that's about it.
Terminal.
What's that?
It's terminal.
Well, we could fix it, but we're about 8 laps down now, and there's no way we can win it, so we just think we'll just park it.
Look for Johnny Rutherford back in the pits momentarily.
And Johnny Rutherford has indeed pulled behind the wall, so that makes him an early retiree from the Detroit News Grand Prix here at Michigan International Speedway. We've completed 19 laps, and the average speed so far with all green, 196.18 miles an hour. Bobby Rahal continues to lead, Tom Sneva second, Andretti third, and Mears fourth. The interval between himself and second-running Tom Sneva has been closing in the last few laps. The big story right now, though, more misfortune for Johnny Rutherford, who has dropped out of the competition early.
Johnny, it's been a most trying season, but you put the new Wildcat in the front row. You got off to a good start today, but you have to be terribly disappointed right now.
Well, we really are, you know, but then it's kind of been like this all season, so I know how to handle it by now, and it's not fun. The car was feeling good, but evidently developed a water leak of some type, and was spraying out while I was running. The front end started pushing pretty bad on the car, and we were trying to jack with that and make it right, but it just wasn't our day.
When things are going well, you develop your confidence, a certain rhythm. When things are going poorly, as they have this season, do you kind of get in the car and say, well, JR, what's going to happen to us today?
Well, I guess to a degree, deep down inside you do. You try to keep your confidence level up, but, you know, these things happen. And it's a brand new race car, and there are a lot of things that can happen to a new car, and we've discovered one today, I'm afraid, and that's just the way it goes.
Out early, but still with a smile on your face. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, I've got to keep my spirits up. I want to say hi to all my family in Fort Worth and everybody, and we'll be at the next one ready to go.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, and on the racetrack, battle between Teo Fabi in 5th place and Kevin Cogan in 6th as the cars head into turn number 3. Teo Fabi, the winner of our most recent one of the races we did earlier this year. He has won twice on the CART PPG IndyCar World Series Trail 4 this year. And Teo Fabi Bobby this afternoon started in third position at 202.640 miles an hour. But Kevin Kogan, who started this race seventh, is giving him a battle.
And remember how fast Kevin was here a year ago. He led this race in the early stages, and we saw Kevin a number of times in the 1982 season show his ability to go fast, and also recall the slight tweaking in the strategy for the Forsyth Skoal Bandit team, that green and white number 33 that Bobby shared with us the last time we covered the Indianapolis cars a week ago from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Ohio, saying that they're going to concentrate just a little more on the championship than they had early on in the season. They didn't really think they would have this close of a shot at it when the year began, but things have been going so well. The performance has been so great from the team and Teo combined that they're really thinking championship now, and I think we're seeing a little bit of evidence of that.